It is now official. Donald Trump has said it. There will be a, quote, audit, unquote, of the gold reserves at Fort Knox. This is exciting. Let's discuss it as we explore. Wow, history is being made yet again, and this time out of the words of the president's mouth. And it has been reposted by Elon Musk over at X. A live stream of Fort Knox would be hot, hot. 2 fire emoticons there to emphasize the point. Indeed, it will be. This is something else. I'm going to play for you the clip here later on, the audio of what Donald Trump said on Air Force One. But first, let's get a little backdrop as to what this is about. This all stemmed from the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. And as head of this department, Musk has been scrutinizing the government's institutions lately. Fort Knox was another target for his daring eyes, as Musk published an X post saying it would be cool to do a live walkthrough of Fort Knox, and that's a previous post. But nonetheless, he wants full transparency here, as Donald Trump has made his intentions known on Air Force One. Senator Mike Lee fueled the discussion when he replied to Musk that despite being a senator, he was denied access to Fort Knox on multiple occasions without a proper cause. Musk replied that the American public was the true owner of the gold stored at Fort Knox, which is owned by the Treasury, by the way, or stored by the Treasury, and asked if someone could confirm that the gold was there. And that is an amazing exchange, and I reported on that recently. So much is happening now and at a fast pace, so much that the European and Asian markets overnight have spiked gold up to an all-time high yet again, reaching a high of $2,955.80. Folks, I now believe that we could see $3,000 gold today. Now, I'm recording this video before the markets open today, but already they are hot and moving up. And I think we could see, maybe, especially as this news starts to settle in and marinate a bit here. The discussion continued on X, with many expressing support for the idea of a public audit of the biggest gold reserve in the United States. The Fort Knox Reserve holds, about 4,500, I believe, tons of gold. This particular piece I'm reading from Crypto News, which probably has the most comprehensive story, says it's 147 troy ounces of gold. Well, that may be all that's in there. Many people feel there's no gold. In fact, I can't tell you how many folks are so confident that there's no gold in Fort Knox that they would bet their lives on it. Well, I believe the gold is there. I think we're going to find out that it's there. Who owns it is going to be another matter. I think that's really where the true audit is going to take place. Now, I use that term audit in quotes because essentially it's just a look through to find out that the gold is there, is actually there. Then we need to find out who owns the gold. It's crazy. Wow. And there's been others that have posted about this. Zero Hedge has also been on top of this. And many remember the video from Periodic Videos where they toured the Bank of England's gold vault. That was from 2012. Of course, a lot of that gold has been patriated here to the United States. Missing Fort Knox gold is an old conspiracy theory infused by the extremely low level of the reserve's transparency. And for some of that, it's understandable for security reasons. It makes sense. We got to be very careful if it's going to be live streamed, so to speak, and we're not going to see all the very secure aspects and how to get into it. No one person knows how to get into the vaults of the gold at Fort Knox. And by the way, there's more gold. Just almost half of it is stored, I believe, under the vaults in New York City. So, wow. So it is something else. This is big news, folks. And the fact that some of it could be live streamed or videoed is great. I think live stream would be great if we could find a way to do it securely. The inability to make sure gold is present at the depository raises questions about the accountability and transparency towards revision. And now, there are regular audits that do take place. I've discussed that before. I've seen them. I've seen the latest one, by the way, but it's grossly inadequate in terms of being able to actually prove the evidence that the gold is there. The U.S. government issues monthly reports that specify the amount of gold stored in every storage area. The proponents of the missing gold theory don't buy these reports and want to get evidence. But the restrictive policies that don't allow visitors to Fort Knox only makes people more suspicious. And by the way, even senators have not gotten access. And of course, Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, has said that he would give access to senators. Now, any senator who asked. So we're going to find out soon whether or not this is going to take place. Now, the last public viewing or audit, again, that term is used very, very loosely here, Fort Knox took place on September the 24th, 1974, with several congressmen and journalists were allowed into the depository. They entered the storage, inspected the gold, and took photos. The previous tone, when Fort Knox had such an audit, took place in 1943. I believe that was 53 or 54. By the way, you can be your own central bank and hold your own gold and audit your own gold, which I encourage everybody to do by buying it from Summit Metals, the channel sponsor here. SummitMetals.com. Elevate your wealth. Now, let's listen to what Donald Trump has said aboard Air Force One about the Fort Knox gold.
We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that? We're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that? That was that bad bump.
Are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
There it is. The gold is not there. We're going to be very upset. And that background noise is the sound of Air Force One. And I'm going to play another clip from Air Force One that I think all Americans should be proud to about what Doge is doing. This goes right to the core of what this is all about: transparency and about government efficiency. It's about government accountability, and it's about your tax dollars. It's your tax dollars that are being spent and wasted for much of what we've been seeing. So this is gonna be something that's gonna be very good news for all of you who pay taxes in the United States of America. So with this situation, what we've got with the gold in Fort Knox, they're going to look through it. I don't know what that's going to look like. There's probably a lot of details that need to be worked out. My guess is this probably will not happen for months. But nonetheless, it is on, and it is something that is there. It's now been on from the lips of the president himself that wants to get this, and this all is spurged from the Department of Government Efficiency, which has found a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse already, and it is something else. Now, remember, back in 2017, then Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, during the first Donald Trump presidency, managed to obtain permission to visit the bullion depository, accompanied by Kentucky elected officials, which includes Mitch McConnell. Unlike the 1974 inspection, this was a very private event with no media present. In fact, the photos that were released were actually caused and raised more questions because they were photocopies of the originals from a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request that has left out many people questioning and wondering what the heck, why didn't they just release the original photos? But even as such, photos back then could have been doctored too. A lot of people really won't know, which is why I think really in a sense a live stream is probably going to be the best, most transparent option, but you got to be very, very careful that no secrets are let out. And I certainly respect that. You have to be very cautious and careful. We don't want to let any secrets out for any nefarious activity that could be perceived from that. Now, remember, this is something that is fascinating to see, and the fact that the visitation took place at the very day of the solar eclipse, which was kind of pathing that created some controversy there. It says there's no evidence that any portion of the Fort Knox gold is missing, but the lack of transparency and clear accountability set a good climate for speculation and alternative solutions, which is why I understand why people question it. I really do. And I think that this is something that is quite profound and something very historic that we could finally see what is going to be happening or what's there in the vaults at Fort Knox. I tell you what, this is probably the most exciting news we may hear all year, that this is going to happen, other than it actually occurring. Now, let's think back for a moment why this is so important to you, because you very well may be able to buy gold with what is happening with Doge, because there is going to be a potentially, now this is not for sure, but it's a great idea, says Trump, and I'm going to play for you exactly what I'm talking about here.
Sir, Elon Musk is proposing potentially giving money to Americans based on what Doge is finding. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I love it. A 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the waste and fraud and abuse and all of the other things that are happening. I think it's a great idea.
How much money do you think?
Could be a lot. I mean, if it's 20%, we'd give back a lot of money to the taxpayer. And also it'd give an incentive for the taxpayer to go out and report things to us where we can save money.
That would be something else. Now, it could be a lot of money. We don't know 20% of what they're finding in the fraud. Who knows what that is? But it could be enough to buy an ounce of this. A full ounce of gold could be coming to you based off of the savings in this dividend, potentially. Imagine if every American could have enough money to buy a full ounce of gold. By then, likely gold would be well over $3,000 an ounce. I think it's going to get there just on this announcement. It very well could happen literally today. We'll see. But nonetheless, so there it is. Let me know what your thoughts are about this latest news. What an amazing thing. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.